All right, you ready?
Crank it up, buddy.
I was born.
Every sports fan has an opinion. Well, these are ours. Welcome to Brock and Pep's Unsportsmanlike Convo. And here are your hosts, Brock Fleming and Pep Cariotti.
Good Friday, everybody. Let's just leave it at that. How you doing, Pep? I see you got your Blue Jay gear on.
Playoffs, baby. Who thunk it? We did.
Playoffs. Although I did, I think not that long ago, I texted Curtis maybe or you, and I was just like, the Jays, there's no way. They're not making the playoffs. They can't. They've been playing so horribly in the last little while that I thought there was not a chance that they would make the playoffs. But
when they had that 6-game losing streak where they were getting pummeled by like 10 runs, I thought, uh-oh. But then, I had realized that the teams behind them were so far behind that even if they went 500 the rest of the way, they were going to have a good shot. But I changed my mind. On the opening credits, I'd rather be the kid in behind you and the kid with the helmet.
That makes the kid a little bit easier from a Photoshop standpoint. And for those who aren't aware, Pep and I recorded yesterday. Had some technical difficulties. A new one. It just stopped. The Rodecaster stopped working into the actual mic. I don't know if it was taking too much power. Anyway, yada, yada. We also dragged on a little bit from an episode standpoint, but Pep wanted to be Photoshopped into that picture as being the kid that I was coaching. So now he's changed his mind. He wants to be the kid in the back.
That's right.
There's a lot of things that we'll talk about today that I'll say, well, actually now, yesterday we were talking about the Lakers Nuggets series, and I said whoever wins Game 4 is going to win the series, and the Lakers won Game 4. Anyway.
Now, with that said, the Nuggets have come back from a 3-1 deficit in 2 consecutive rounds, so the Nuggets have the Lakers sort of right where they want them. But this isn't Utah, and this isn't Portland, and these are the Lakers. This is LeBron James, and yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, the magic runs out at some point. They have to feel confident. Denver's got to feel, again, confident to a point of saying we have done it before, so there's something behind there. But also from a Lakers standpoint, you say they've done it, so that we're not going to be sitting down taking them easy here. They're gonna come out and try and close it out in Game 5 for sure. But it was an interesting game. I watched it last night. Some phenomenal play by a variety of players. None probably better than our Canadian, really. And it's positive.
I thought you were going to queue up the. Yeah, no. Jamal Murray played outstanding. Actually, he played. I think he finished with 37. But you and I, here we go. This is the play we were talking about.
This is what we're talking about here.
Because we got to see this.
Wow. Murray is attacking. Look at him go up. No, I'm not going to dunk. Not going to use it with my left. But the English off the glass. When Murray is attacking off of the pick and roll, this team is dangerous. We know about Joker and his passing ability.
I mean,
look
Murray
at this.
Loosens up the defense for everyone else, and he's a great finisher.
It might be the best finish I've ever seen in terms of body contortionism and like.
Oh, so the obvious comparison is the Jordan one, right?
Right.
Like where but Jordan, first of all, there was nobody in front of him. Jordan just switched hands in the air just to make it more difficult on himself.
Right.
There was nobody in front of him. That was on LeBron James.
Right?
And LeBron James is up there trying to when LeBron James commits to trying to block your shot, he goes 100%. He doesn't do anything half-assed. Like if LeBron James feels like he's going to get dunked on, he'll just sort of back away and let the guy do it. But when he goes up to contest you, he usually wins. So that's what made that even more impressive. And just the ability to go under the basket with two. Murray's got some hops.
What's impressive, again, the Jordan one, he was more like kind of almost head on the basket where he's like, oh, we go on one side and comes the other side. Murray's clearly on the left side of the basket and has to two-hand bring it down. And if he doesn't even get that spin properly, the ball has no chance to get in. I was surprised. Even watching it in slow motion, I'm like, there's no way. There's just doesn't make – the physics doesn't line up as to how this ball is going to go in. It was amazing.
Now in terms of finishes in league history, I'd have to just like YouTube some clips and see if the greatest finishes in history. But playoffs, that's up there. That's probably number one in terms of what I've seen. That's what a finish. The body control and the moment of the game. There was a big basket for them at that particular time. So you and I talked yesterday
Just putting
about
notes down. We're gonna do that. You're gonna find the clips. We're gonna find the 10 greatest finishes of basketball clips, and we're gonna put them in order.
I mean, two come to mind right away. The Dr. J
from behind the basket.
Yeah. Magic, sorry, not Magic. That Jordan move was pretty spectacular. Anyway, you slice it
at the time.
But there were a couple of alley oops, like DeAndre Jordan dunking on Brandon Knight and just ending his life. Really, that's on every.
Okay, don't give away what the next episode is going to be, or when we do the episode. Don't give it all away. We'll put it all together.
Well, those are three. We'll leave 7 for mystery.
All right.
So yeah, big win for the Lakers. I think the Heat and the Celtics are tonight.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so the Heat can end that series, and the way they're playing, the Celtics are in tough. But man, I would not count out the Celtics. I would not count out the Celtics. They're a gritty starting five. In fact, I think their starting five is better than the Heat's starting five. They're well coached. Brad Stevens is one of the best coaches in the NBA. They're just gritty. They're gritty. You can't keep them out, but Miami's just as gritty, so that's what makes them so tough. But Bam Adebayo is a budding star. They talked about this yesterday at halftime of the game about how his whole game has just improved over the course of one season. Like, he's developed a mini jump shot. He's aggressive. John Calipari called him a point center, where the ball starts with him now. Like, the point guard will bring up the ball, give it to Bam, but the offense starts once he gets into his hands. I've never seen that. Like, Nikola Jokic is probably a close point center that you'll find in the NBA. Arvydas Sabonis comes to mind if you're talking about players in history who've been that, like, point guard from the center position where they get the ball and they direct the offense. We're seeing a little bit of that with Bam Adebayo. So amazing stuff. Two well-coached teams. Who do you got tonight? Do you have a gut feeling? Have you watched any of the series?
The Heat, again, we talked about it yesterday.
You like the Heat?
To me, I like the style of the Heat. They're just so fast. It's very college feel to me, where it's just constant movement until somebody's ankles get broken, gets left behind, and the guy has an open shot. And it's just constant. And what impressed me was that the Celtics sort of had that feel against the Raptors. I felt like they were going a lot more than the Raptors were. So I felt the young spryness of the Celtics team. And then I watched the Heat doing the exact same thing to the Celtics, and that's where I was like, wow, like they're on another level in terms of their movement, ball movement, passes, the constant speed of the game that they play with. And that's what's really stood out to me. And I would have been curious to see how the Raptors would have held up, but this series is fairly fun to watch because both teams have that ability, but the Heat just seem to be on a different level. And their shooting ability in any situation, they're fearless. They're just taking these shots and they're nailing them, and it's impressive.
Well, the Heat, they play a ball movement type style offense, and towards the end of the shot clock, that's when they turn to the screen and roll. The Celtics are a weird offense. They do a lot of screen and roll, but it's not with their big guy and the point guard, which is typically what you see in the NBA. The big guy comes to set the screen, and then he rolls to the basket. Well, the Celtics do their screen and roll with their point guard and their off guard. So that leaves a lot more creativity because the off guard, their off guards are big. Like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are big boys. So when they drive to the hoop, they're going aggressive. So it's a little different style offense. I think Miami's got the horses to guard that kind of offense. So I think we're seeing that in the mix. But Eric Spoelstra, top 5 coach, and like you said, they're fun to watch because there's a lot of ball movement. They move around a lot like the Raptors. Nick Nurse and the success with the Raptors last year and most of this year was because the ball whistles, like the ball moves around, and it forces the defense to move, and it makes the defense work harder. So good observation on your part. I know you're not a huge basketball guy from an X's and O standpoint, but you, as an athlete and as a guy who coaches football and a lot of X's and O's, I think you can appreciate those style of offenses. So good on you for that observation. And forgive me. I don't know podcast etiquette. We don't have certainly a textbook to read from, but I'm drinking some protein shake while we talk, because as soon as we're done this show, I got a jet. I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone here. So forgive me if it's gross. Just say it. Just say, look, it's gross. I don't want to see you drinking your protein shake. I could turn my head. I could
see it as one thing. Actually, I got to get the sound clip. We had our unofficial producer mic'd up at one point, Mr. Pignat, and he he was drinking his coffee or something, and we got such an audio of his.
Oh, you mentioned this yesterday.
His swallow that it's comical. And I made like a clip of it as well. So I'm like, I got to make it into the sound bite of somewhere so I can kind of call upon it at any given time. But it's phenomenal. I'll find it in a second. But
Brock, we had a question for, we'll just change gears. So that's the NBA. The NBA that could be the series. Both series could be over by Sunday. We had a question on our Facebook page just as you were setting up for today's show from Fred Duquette. He wanted to know with I don't have the question exactly in front of me, but I remember it. He wanted to know that with college football starting this weekend and college basketball starting in November, are students back to school in the States? And he's asking you directly. He's
asking me directly.
Yep.
From a general population, I think they've started. Like I know. That's a good question, Freddie. From a general population, student population, I'm not 100% sure. I don't think they're all back. I do not think the general population is back. Athletes are, obviously. Even schools like Colgate. I got a kid that's down there right now. They're not playing this year, but they've been down. They are now training. They've been through quarantine. There's a couple of dorms that were designed for the quarantine process, and even the president of the university was quarantined in that dorm for 2 weeks. But I don't know if the actual overall general population for all schools are back. I think a lot of it's state determined as well. So it depends on the rules within each individual state. But that being said, college football is back, and I am pumped.
Who do we got?
SEC on CBS. I cannot get enough of this theme song. It gets me excited every single time. We got Florida. The SEC is back. Okay, college football's been back for a couple of weeks, but when you have the ACC, you got Clemson. You know, they got Notre Dame for a year. There's maybe Miami. Big 12 has been playing, which is not too bad, but you don't get a lot of coverage necessarily up here. Big 10 will be back in October, but the SEC, which is the cream of the crop, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, is back this weekend. Normally they do non-conference play between now and when it would have started. So now conference play starts, and it's all only conference play moving forward. But the games for you guys to watch this week, noon, you got Florida, number 5 ranked Florida at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to be wearing their baby blue uniforms, which actually kind of look cool, but hopefully we spoil that party. Kentucky, number 23 at Auburn, who's number 8. Kentucky's been progressing very nicely over the last little while, and they've actually beat Florida within the last couple of years, a thing they hadn't done for 25 years previous to that.
Yeah, not a traditional football program there, right?
It's more
You
basketball.
know?
Well, we had a Kentucky Wildcat on our show as a baseball player as well.
Yep.
But anyway, the football team is doing their best to, again, keep competitive and progress. And now they're ranked in the top 25, basically preseason. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go, but that's at noon as well. We have a 3:30 game that is a Big 12 game, West Virginia at Oklahoma State. The reason that's interesting is that there's a kid from Ottawa, Kenny Messidor, who's a defensive end for West Virginia, who's been playing, and so I'm curious to see how he does. And then obviously the other Canadian is Chuba Hubbard, who's the running back and Heisman hopeful out of Oklahoma State. He's a West kid from Vancouver area, but also a very big don't know what to say. It's not the Black Lives Matter, but it's the help me out here, Pep. What is it?
I'm not familiar with what he
like the
represents.
the advocacy for the racism and
For general equality and
not directly Black Lives Matter, but all that kind of stuff. And he had that issue with his coach, where his coach had tweeted something out or was wearing a T-shirt that was supporting a politician that wasn't or a company that wasn't in favor of equality. And that made Twitter headlines and stuff, and then they came out with that real weird apology with him and his coach. And I think he played the game at that point, but he's also been a pretty big advocate for everything else and getting the players in the Big 12 and stuff together to sort of show their unity and push the envelope a little bit. But anyway, good Canadian. Hopefully, he has a really good season, and maybe he gets invited to New York if and when the Heisman Trophy gets awarded. 7:30, you got Florida State at Miami. Miami's ranked 12. Florida State is unranked, but anytime you get those battles of the state of Florida, they get pretty heated. So
not a fan of Florida State.
No, God, no. Me or you?
Me.
Oh, well,
Us,
hey.
both of us, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not. I never have been. Yeah.
No, I'll take Miami over Florida State any day. And then the other one would be Tennessee, who's actually ranked 16 this year against South Carolina. And South Carolina is notorious for putting up fights. And you shared the YouTube video of the Washington State quarterback who committed suicide. What's his name again?
Yeah,
Helinski.
Oh, yes. Oh man, it was a reporter out of Seattle who actually sent me the link. Great story. I'd have to look it up and share it on the page. I think it's a great story.
It's Helinski, or I'm making a bad name. Anyway,
Tyler Helinski, maybe.
But his younger brother, is the starting quarterback for South Carolina.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he was a freshman last year and came in and played some pretty big games. So I think he's got the starting role this year. So again, again with those kind of stories, I'd love to follow it and see how he does and. I know that he keeps a lot of the same traditions. I think he wears the same number his brother did and stuff too. So anyway, that's the other one at 7:30 to watch. Other than that,
not to get too far off topic with college football, but just a big shout out to Dak Prescott and Hayden Hurst, who are
saw that.
Well, Dak Prescott for sure. He's come out and just described some of the issues he's had in terms of mental health, and it takes a lot of courage. And Hayden Hurst, I think, has a suicide prevention.
Him and his mother have a
him and his
foundation.
mother started a program. I mean, that's awesome stuff, and they're collaborating together. And they had a moment after the last game that they played against each other, which was a really tight game. But anyway, along the lines of the Helinski family, and now you got me wanting to watch and root for that team. Sorry, who's he quarterbacking for? South Carolina.
South Carolina Gamecocks.
The Gamecocks. Yeah, I'm going to be rooting for them.
Yeah, they're a fun team to watch. They got Muschamp, I think, is still their coach, who's an old Florida coach as well. So it seems like a lot of Florida coaches have gone to South Carolina, at least two of them. Anyway, yeah, it should be interesting.
Brock, just for our listeners who don't follow college football, and I don't follow it as closely as I'd like to, just how many... So you talk about these big conferences that may not make a lot of sense to some people who are listening, but so like a big conference has how many teams in it? But big conference, I mean the schools that generate the most talent and whatnot. Like how many teams are in the ACC, for example, and the SEC?
It varies, but you can have. I mean, the names don't even correspond anymore because I think the Big Ten now has 12 teams. I think the Big 12 has 10 teams. I think the SEC has maybe 14 teams. Anyway, there's five power, they call it the Power 5 conferences in college football, which are the bigger revenue generating teams, leagues. So you got the Big Ten, which is like Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, those kind of guys. The old school, they like to hard-nosed run the ball. Big 12 is like the Texas, Oklahoma State, Baylor, all those kind of teams out that area. You got the SEC, which again is the one that I follow the most, which is, again, you have the East and West, but you got your Florida, your Georgia, Kentucky's, Tennessee's in the East, and the West is LSU, Bama, Auburn. You can kind of go on for there, but
the who's who of college football the last decade, really.
It's a bit of a mecca in that area,
Yeah.
and the football is as close to pro as you'll get. Like a lot of these are, like you have your good teams in each division, but the SEC is, come out on top more often than not. The ACC is another one, which is Clemson. Now Notre Dame is in right now. Notre Dame is generally an independent team. So they have no affiliation to a conference usually, and they just make their schedule based on every other team's non-conference play. So they'll make those schedules.
Wow.
And they have their own TV rights with NBC, all that kind of stuff. So they feel like they're too good for conferences. So this year
they've had that for years, eh?
Oh, forever.
Yeah.
But this was the year where all the conferences said we're only playing in conference games. So Notre Dame either didn't play because they didn't have anybody to play against who would play non-conference, or join a conference. So they joined the ACC this year, which is probably, I would say, the weakest out of the five, and so that's kind of a
very interesting.
Yeah, but then from the ACC standpoint, they let him in for 1 year, which I would have loved to see them say, hey, you sit on the sidelines, or sign like a 5-year deal with us where you say, look, Notre Dame's part of the ACC for the next 5 years. And then sort of, the ACC could capitalize on some of that revenue as well. But anyway, they're in the ACC.
So, just to put that in perspective, you've named off 5 conferences. Let's say there's 10 teams in every conference, just on average. That's 50 teams. That's already 18 teams more than the NFL has altogether. You haven't even mentioned some of the smaller schools. How many schools compete in college football, approximately?
If you go across the division, so you have the top, the FBS, so the Football Bowl Series, which is now, it used to be called Division I. FBS is, so if you like those Power Fives, and then you have the other ones like the WAC and the MAC and all that kind of stuff, where if you win a certain amount of games, it's got to be at least 6 to be considered for a bowl game, and then they sort of plug you into all these different bowls. And then there's obviously that playoff series and stuff, but that FBS is the top, and then you have the FCS, which is a 1AA, which is what like Colgate was part of that. Some of those schools where the attendance is not big enough to be in a Division I. So a lot of it was based on attendance. And then this one actually doesn't have bowls. You actually have a championship series. So you have the playoffs, and it goes right to the championship game, and they win. And then, then you have Division II and Division III. So if you put them all together, you're 300 plus schools. Easy.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. And to determine a final champion out of all those schools is pretty wild stuff. So I think that's what makes the college football such a unique sport in itself. Because, I mean, even college basketball has obviously the March Madness tournament. That's great. But their regular season is very similar to what a regular season would be in the pros, right? Like if your record is just good enough, you can at least qualify for the Big Dance, which is 64 teams. But then if you can win your conference tournament, you get an automatic bid no matter how badly you played all year. So, like, it does resemble the pros a little bit more than college football does in terms of the format. So that's why college football is so unique in that sense. And one loss, like you said, one loss in the year can set you, basically kick you out of the playoffs, essentially, right, in college football. So
yeah, you could lose out a shot to win the whole thing if you lose one game, depending on what everybody else does. And because it's so analytical in terms of how you get in and how you get ranked, because the ranking, obviously, it has a lot of weight. If you're ranked in the top 4, then you'll get into that 4-team semifinal. But in order to get ranked, you need to beat opponents that are good and beat them by a good amount. Show on the field, and then it's people's judgment. It's there is some mathematical behind the scenes type stuff where they take strength of schedule, all kind of stuff. So there's a huge formula that spits out a certain rating, but it's also coaches, it's press, it's everything. It's who's putting the best product on the field and who is impressing people on the field. And you got to play the right people. And because of that, that's why I love college football more than any other sport is because I'm a huge Florida Gator fan, but I can watch a Notre Dame game with as much invested in that game as I would if I was watching Florida play somebody else, because maybe I need Notre Dame to lose for Florida to jump them in the polls. Right. So, it's all those other games outside of your actual team matter. Where in the NFL and stuff like that, until later in the season, where you're kind of like, I need some help to squeak in. For the most part, you control your own destiny. But in college football, you need a lot more help, and every week is kind of do or die. It's great.
It'll never happen. But could you imagine if the NFL adopted that from the team's previous standing from the year before, and they created a ranking? And losses to weaker teams meant a little more or meant a little less. That would be kind of a cool thing. You will never see it. But, I mean, I think that'd be kind of a neat concept to have, if you beat the Dolphins twice a year, it means a little bit less than if you're beating the Patriots twice a year. I don't know. Just food for thought for NFL fans. And that's what makes college football so cool, I think. Like you said, you don't have to wait till the end of the NFL season for these, where you're counting on someone else to beat somebody, where you control your own destiny for the most of the year. Where in college football, every week you're watching somebody in your conference play a big game when you're not playing. So
yeah,
neat stuff.
I was getting some emails there. We got our, I think I told you yesterday, but our nonprofit foundation, the Football Forward nonprofit that was now registered, has received our first grant to run a non-contact, safe social distancing camp sort of thing for underprivileged youth in the area. And we just got the okay to use TD Place. So we'll be doing that 4 Saturdays in October from 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning. So we're going to be, now I got to line up the coaches. I got to get the kids registered, all that kind of stuff. And anyway, so things are moving, but we're pretty pumped about it. And we get a chance to help a bunch of kids who wouldn't otherwise get a chance to be on the football field right now. And it's a Red Cross grant that's COVID related. And, a lot of it has to do with mental health. I mean, we talked about that a couple times already today in the show, but mental health of kids that normally play sports who can't right now, it's pretty tough when you're trying to, and I mean, you can speak to it directly where, getting out and being active and being around some people and, it definitely helps your mental state. And unfortunately, there's a lot of clubs in the area, Ottawa football clubs, that just don't have the means to run those programs right now. There's 3 of them that do, but they're all the affluent sort of neighborhoods and with a lot of parent involvement and volunteers and financial support. So what we're trying to do is cater to the rest of them to say, you know what, here's a bit of an outlet. At least it's a month. You get 4 practices with us. With some good coaches. We'll get some of your local coaches involved as well to kind of create those relationships. But let's get you out. Let's get you running around and hopefully improve your mental state.
Hey, all I can say is congratulations. That's a wonderful thing you're doing for kids who don't have that opportunity. But inside TD Place is a whole other ballgame too. Like that's a pretty cool experience.
Oh yeah.
So that's a cool experience for any kid, let alone somebody who may not have the opportunity to play in these camps. So very, very good on you and on your business partner, Scott Endicott. And I know you have another mutual friend of all of ours, Carl Tolme, who comes out and helps with the everything with the processes and the coaching. And some of the names on your coaching list are the who's who of football in the Ottawa region. So any kids listening, I highly, highly recommend the CFI Institute and that scouting combine. Of course, Brock, you'll share stuff with me on Facebook, and I'll gladly share it on main page. But congratulations to both you guys.
I appreciate it.
Wow, awesome stuff. Yeah, you talk about mental health. I got an email this morning actually from a friend. I'm just to certainly everything has to remain anonymous, but we were just going some back and forth and how are you, how's life, all good, how's work, how's good. She works in the hospital, and I said, how's things going? And she said, this has taken such a toll on people's mental health even more so than COVID. Like she said, there's a dude who was admitted probably 2 months ago, just going crazy at home, not unable to work, and it's a grown man by himself. And basically every day since he's been admitted, every single day, think about this, for 2 straight months, he's attempted suicide. Wow. Within his room, anything he can do. So he's, you name it, he's trying it. This is every single day. So, this obviously that's an extreme case, but on a lesser scale, when we talk about, I don't want to get into this. This has nothing to do with sports, but just to sort of take what you mentioned about the kids and mental health to another level here. There's the argument about sending the kids back to school with COVID and all this. And I get it. I get the concerns from parents. Believe me, I get it. Like I don't really have an opinion either way because I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews, and it's really important for kids to be around other kids. Mm-hmm. Now, on top of each other, I would rather they don't play wrestle and and do all the roughhousing that kids tend to do. But to be surrounded by kids and to be surrounded by your friends and interact, it's super important to our development. I mean, when I think of high school, I don't think about classroom stuff. Bored the hell out of me. I think about spending time with my buds, recess, sports, the classes I did enjoy, which were very few other than phys ed and a couple of my favorite teachers. That was secondary. What I remember from high school and elementary school was spending time with my friends. So it's a vital component to like a child's development. And so if you're very anti, sending the kids back to school, there's a whole other perspective. And COVID, we have to learn to live with this thing. So, if there's an outbreak, of course, I'm all for closing down. I'm all for playing safe. But I mean, they're going back to school because they kind of have to. Like it's part of a child's development. So it's such a tough spot. I wouldn't want to be the person making these decisions personally. Again, I'm just an armchair guy who has an opinion sitting from my living room, but can't be easy for parents. Certainly can't be easy for kids who have mental health issues, stuck at home, and God forbid, stuck at home in an abusive environment with parents or siblings or both. I mean, you just don't know. Like we always hear the best case scenario. There's kids out there whose their home is probably the worst place they should be. So it's wild.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, with the new
getting them out on Saturday morning, that's good on you guys,
Well, yeah. This morning it was taking the kids to school, walking them to school, and then getting to the school, and both of them saying, "Forgot my mask." All right, walk back. Neighbors going, "Isn't the school that way?" I'm like, "Yeah." When they don't forget when they don't remember their mask, we got to go home and get them. So they were late. And just something else you got to remember. But yeah, I mean, the kids, whatever. They don't like the homework and stuff, but some structure in their life too. Like for the longest time, it was just every day was like a Saturday. You just kind of melts into one or the other. And anyway, yeah, it's good for them, even if they don't.
Like I'm an adult, and I've been still off work, waiting to get a recall from work. It's going to be 6 months. So I'm concerned about how I'm going to be able to go back to work and not burn out within the first week, just not having worked. Of course, like you said, I've been active and trying to maintain some regular schedule of leaving the house. But I couldn't imagine if I was a kid off school for 7, 8, 9 months and then having to go back. Like that's tough. But anyway,
hey, you've been off school for how many years and you gone back?
Well, yeah, that's I happen to like the courses I'm taking.
Hey, listen to this. Ready?
Oh, is that Mike Pignet? Oh.
That's the one
that is Brock's brother-in-law taking a sip of water on air.
I guess it was a video. I forget, we were doing something. We were getting ready for the Jays one. And so I went to edit the film after, and I
remember that actually.
Like, oh my goodness!
I think I remember logging on, and you guys were on, and we were prepping. Usually, before the show starts, the three of us Brock fixes our little image into a little box, and then I just remember I couldn't see him, but I just heard a gulp, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's drinking. He's drinking some coffee. That's cool.
I clipped that thing and I sent it to him, and he was just like, he's like, I can't. He's like, it irks me. Like it gives me. He's just so upset about it. It's wonderful.
Awesome. We're at. I actually have my stopwatch here, so we're at 32 minutes. Not bad. We still want to talk a little bit of football and just touch on the Jays, but I did want to say good stuff this weekend. You did the Rinks and Links.
Yeah, Rinks and Links. I survived it.
In 2 minutes or less, how'd it go? Who was involved? What was it for?
Hey, Rinks and Links, it's with Club EG. They raise money for a variety of different charities. This is something that was put on. It was supposed to be in like March, got pushed back a bunch of times. Our team, myself, Phil Homewood, Big Philly came down from Toronto. So did Mike Dean, Dan Durant, Pat Collins, Gordon McGilvery, Dave Enner, Scott Endicott. That was our 8. And we did the 3 hockey games. Then we did the golf after, and I played goalie for the first time. We played 3 games. We won the first one 3-2. A little nervous, a little whatever, not too bad. The second game we finished a 1-1 tie, and in there, if our team takes a penalty, it's a penalty shot for the other team. And so there was a couple during the game. I made a couple of saves. I felt pretty confident, and then they called a penalty shot with 0.9 seconds left in the game at a 1-1 tie, and I was able to withhold that save and say, you know what, we got away with the tie. And then the third game came out, and I think all of our bodies just broke, and it was like 7-1. Mike Dean was getting chirpy with somebody, and I was like, you know what, we quit with 4 minutes left. We're like, you win, that's fine. We got to go to golf, shower, and whatever. So before this gets out of hand, you guys have the win. There's no point differential needed, sort of thing. So, and by that time, I think none of us had breakfast. We're like, we need to go eat and whatever. So we got out of there. But
my God,
yeah, it was a different setup because of COVID. We did it last year. I did it with a little bit of a different group, but it was so much better last year from a socialization standpoint. So guys like Gord, who I don't see every day, and Pat Collins, and even Diener and Phil and stuff. And you come down. Last year, you have your hockey games, but sometime in between 2 hockey games, there's like an hour and a half break. You would go upstairs to the buffet and then have a breakfast buffet. Perfect. You're sitting around socializing. Great. Play your hockey, go to the golf course, and everybody's there at the same time. There's a huge barbecue, and you're sitting around, have a beer, have a burger, whatever. And then you all shotgun start, and then at the end of it, there's a huge supper where you're all sitting around. Again, you're half in the bag, but you're just socializing, whatever. This year, there was nothing. There was none of those meals. It was a box lunch at the golf course, which was a sandwich and a beer, and they gave you like a Titleist hat. But, it was fun. But that aspect of it, which is really what we wanted to do, wasn't part of it. So unfortunately, COVID did have an effect on it. We ended up going to the restaurant after and had a chance to catch up some of it. But guys like Gord had to go home, and so I missed out on some of the time that I would have liked to have spent with those guys. But otherwise, hopefully, it's back next year, and we'll look to do it again.
By the same token, like some of these softball leagues that I play in over the course of the summer, I enjoy softball. I play in a sort of non-competitive league at the RA, then a little bit more of a competitive league out in Canada, which is harder throwing. They released the rules and regulations for COVID, and it was like, I only come out to play softball to hang out with my pals and have beer after or during. I don't do it
for the softball.
for the softball, certainly not the RA Center anyways. No offense, RA. It's a fun league, but I play to have drinks and have a good time on the patio before and after. But the rules are like, okay, the dugouts are off limit. If you're standing with your team, by the bench, you're to stand at a certain distance from each other. Everyone has to bring their own bat. You can't hang out before or after the game. You have to show up like within 5 minutes of the game, and then when the game's over, you disperse. Like the whole thing was just bizarro world. So, I sympathize with that, the Rinks and Links, and how it was probably a lot more entertaining last year. One quick plug, I'm walking with a group of individuals this Sunday. It's the Run for Women, raise awareness for women's mental health. My team, the Royal Rumblers, the money goes to the Royal Ottawa. If you want to donate, you can just go on to runforwomen.ca and look up either my first and last name or our team name, the Royal Rumblers. And you can, if you want to give any money at all we've reached our goal, but obviously it's always good to exceed it.
Yeah.
Any money you can offer up would be lovely. Yeah, it's a great cause, and my friend Heather Brown is our team captain, and she does such wonderful work for the Royal. And then I think we have a couple of sort of Royal Ottawa bigwigs on our team. So anyway, it'd be, if you can donate, great. If not, I totally understand. Times are tough now with COVID. I mean, Lord knows I'm penny pinching every second I can because I have to. But yeah, all right. We should probably get back to sports. A couple more things we want to talk about. Jays, baby.
Whoop, whoop.
Jays clinched.
I gotta get to my air horn.
Get that horn.
Jays clinching a playoff berth.
Hey, listen, Ryu pitched a hell of a game last night. He's a bona fide ace. We discussed it when they picked him up. He
Some
has
say
every
he pitched,
pitch.
Some say he pitched Ryu well.
Oh no.
Okay. They like it, no? Okay.
No. Ryu has, I think he throws like 6 different pitches, and he can throw them anywhere in the zone. He's remarkable. When they signed him, I'm like, he is their ace. And then with Nate Pearson coming up in the next couple of years, who actually, by the looks of things, he's going to be on their playoff roster coming out of the pen.
Saw that.
The Jays are young. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. When they make mistakes, it's frustrating. Sometimes when they make mistakes, they lose 20-2. But when they're playing fun and loose, it could be the complete reverse. I can't tell you how many games they've won this year, 10-1, 12-1, 50. So, and Guerrero hit a home run last night. He was 4 for 4 the other night, 3 for 4 the other night. So he's on a tear at the right time, and he was kind of the X factor. Biggio's been consistent all year. Bichette has been consistent all year. Guerrero's been the guy who kind of, we're not like, he needs to get going here. Defensively, he's not great, but as long as he could bring a bat, you can accept some of the defensive stuff. Anyway, your thoughts? I'm super jacked. Your thoughts?
I'm pumped. And the first series, I think, is the best of 3. Is that what it is?
Best of 3 against Tampa Bay. If we were to start tomorrow, which it looks like it's going to be Tampa Bay.
I mean, we haven't had a lot of luck against Tampa Bay this year, but in a 3-game series, anything can happen. So, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, the kids are excited. The celebration they had last night was kind of cool to see, and I think that. I feel like there's a lot of stress that was released. Like maybe after when they're losing 6, they think, you know what, we started off pretty well, and now we're risking maybe not making it or whatever, clinching it and saying we're in. Now anything can happen. I think now, I think they get a little bit looser, which would be nice. And I'm excited to see what they do. It was fun. They were showing. Did you see the whole game last night where they had pictures of the young Jays, the junior Jays, whatever they called them?
Yeah.
See that? And then
the
they're like, I wonder which one this is. And then they zoom in on the ground, and they're laughing. They're like, he still looks the same. And this, anyway, I was like, give the kid a break. But
the thing with Tampa Bay though is that they played Tampa early in the season. I think it was the first four out of the first 6 games were Tampa or something like that.
More than that.
And they were all 1-run games. I mean, I remember they lost a couple in extra innings with the stupid extra inning rule. I mean, I don't personally like it, but. For me, those are 1-run games early in the season. You haven't seen them since. You're a little bit of a different team now. Hey, Tampa's good. Tampa throws pitching at you. They throw good, solid defense at you, and they got clutch hitting. Brandon Lau might be the most underrated player in the majors. So it's going to be a very interesting series. That's assuming they play them. I mean, they're only 2 games behind the Yankees and Indians for a higher seed. So. I personally wouldn't mind them playing the Rays. They match up well. They were all 1-run games. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's an opponent that they're familiar with.
Yes,
so
there's benefit to that.
Exactly. And they didn't lose, by 5 runs every game. They were in it. So I'm sure, looking back at tape and saying little things they could have done differently, I think it was anybody's game. So, I'm fine with them. Again, at this point, I'm fine with them playing anybody. It's a 3-game series. I'm going to take the young, excited kids to go out and just play loose and have fun. And anything can happen at that point. And if their bats are on fire, then, you know what I mean? There's little that anybody can do to kind of stop them because once they get going, they're good.
And we have to look at pitching pitching wins championships. And we look at the Jays. Ryu at the beginning of the year was maybe rusty, maybe it was where they were playing in Salem Field, the different surroundings. Took him about 2 starts to really get a feel for the American League. Well, look at him now. His last 3 starts, his ERA is I think it's below 2. Now, you throw him as your ace to start game 1. If he wins that first game, it's a 50-50 chance after that. And they're not throwing out Tanner Rourke and Chase Anderson now. They went out and they got Taijuan Walker, who's a solid, legit number 2. And Robbie Ray pitched extremely well the other night.
He did.
So now you're looking at Ryu, Walker, and Ray. I mean, that's not bad. It's certainly a lot better than what they had going into the season.
No, for sure.
You know?
I got to give the front office some kudos. They made some moves, and I think overall it's all in the right direction. So again, when we lost, what was his name? Not Shapiro. What was the guy that
Alex Anthopoulos?
Anthopoulos Shapiro.
Yeah,
I don't know what that
he's
is. A commercial.
He's the current guy now. Yeah, he's the
right. Okay, whatever. When he came over, when we lost him, I thought, that's probably not a good move. He was so young. He was an up-and-comer. He built the team and just kind of wanted to keep it rolling. So no matter who they brought in, you kind of had that like, here we go. Did we just take a step back, a huge step back? And to be honest, they've exceeded my expectations so far. So
they've been very, very good. Just a quick sort of – Alex Anthopoulos has done a great job with Atlanta. He rebuilt them overnight, and now they're number 1. I think they just won the NL East.
Was he not with LA for a while too?
I don't think so. I think he went right to Atlanta.
Okay.
Did he spend a year with LA? It's possible.
I thought there was a Dodger thing there.
But he's done a great job at Atlanta. But you can't take away from what Shapiro and Atkins have done. You look at the Cleveland Indians. That's a product of what they've built there. And the Indians have had a lot of success over the years. There's still guys from there currently contributing with the Indians who are Shapiro and Atkins guys. So they've done a great job there, and they've done a phenomenal job rebuilding the Jays. Like the Jays when Anthopoulos left, he left the cupboards completely bare. Their minor league system was depleted. He dealt all the picks and all the young guys to go out and get Tulowitzki and a few of the guys they picked up at the deadline, and David Price. And the cupboard was bare. So when Anthopoulos left, he didn't leave them with much. So they've done a great, great job of replenishing the farm system. And now they've got young arms coming up who are going to be studs. Alex Manoah is one of them. We have the other kid who they got from the Stroman trade. We haven't even seen him yet. His hyphenated last name. I can't remember his name, but he's the, we got Anthony Kaye's the kid who's playing with the Jays right now, but there's another kid who's now he's only 20 years old, was the real gem of that trade. We haven't even seen him yet. So they've done a really great job. Anyway.
And Anthopoulos was the VP of baseball operations for the Dodgers from 2016, 2017. Not a GM,
Excellent. But. Okay. So anyway,
right.
exciting news about the Jays. That's all I got for baseball. And, in terms of their chances of going forward, well, I say against the Rays, it's 50-50. And then after you get to pass round 1, it's anybody's ball game. And this year's wacky. 60 games, nobody really knows who or what they are yet. So, this could be anybody's ball game.
Yeah, hey, something to cheer for, something to watch, something to be excited about. So, Jays in the playoffs. Last time they were in the playoffs, I was pretty pumped. Now we don't get a chance to go down to any games or whatever, but hopefully the excitement is still there. Sans fans and stuff. That's going to be different. But we're excited to see where that goes. I think we'll touch on football another time. We'll touch on the week 2. I'd like to get somebody in. I have Jethro Constant, who's a good buddy of mine, play football together. He's a physio guy, but he's got a lot of good takes on. I want to ask him about all these injuries. There's a lot of injuries in the NFL that last week. There's ACLs all over the place. And
7. Yeah,
and I want to find out from him what his expert feeling is on why this is happening. Why did it happen? Is it because there's no preseason? Is it because of a lack of weight training load that they're not used to, or what is it? But I'd like to get his take on that, and we'll get into our week 2, week 3 picks and stuff too.
The 49ers actually filed a formal complaint, and I talked about this with either you or somebody else the other day, and I've mentioned it before. I think MetLife might be the worst turf in the NFL. They filed a formal complaint requesting an investigation on the quality of the turf at MetLife, because there's no. I mean, it's. I just think some turfs are more conducive to these types of injuries than others. The lack of give. Of course, these guys are so well conditioned, but the torque that they generate.
That's in New York, right? That one.
Yeah, MetLife is the New York Giants. And the Niners, obviously, they lost Nick Bosa. They lost their other defensive tackle. Garoppolo sprained his ankle. So are cleats getting caught in the turf? Are they wearing the proper cleats? I mean, these guys are pros. For sure, they have to be wearing the proper footwear, obviously, right? Like, they can't. Like, there's got to be turf shoes that are conducive to the position. But what we're seeing now is just like it's an insane amount of ACL injuries. And so, yeah, the investigation did occur. The NFL, of course, they concluded that, it's the turf is fine. But there's something to be said when there's multiple teams have complained about MetLife and it being not a great turf. Even some of the Jets players.
Well, that's it. The 49ers can complain all they want. They play there once every 2 years or once a year when they play the Giants. The Jets and the Giants are playing there a dozen games a season between the two of them. Those are, you start complaining. There's the people who should be complaining and taking action because it's our home turf. We're getting hurt. We're not enjoying it. We're feeling the effects of this bad turf. Fucking change it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's something we can ask.
I was taking a look there quick. I wanted
to
make sure it wasn't the Niners playing the Giants because Barkley had gone out too, but that was in Chicago. So. But
Brock,
no,
if we wrap it up in the next 54 seconds, we'll be under 50 minutes.
All right. Anything to add?
That's pretty impressive.
I don't think so. We're ready to get out of here. We're going out to Biggie.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great week. Yeah, everyday struggle. That's where we are. We're back at work, some of them, back at school, kids, everyday struggle. Watch college football on Saturday. You will not be disappointed.
Death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle. Another drug to juggle. Another day, another struggle. I don't want to live no more. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle. Another drug to juggle. Another day, another struggle. I know how it feel to wake up fucked up. Pockets broke as hell. Another rock to sell. People look at you like you's the user. Selling drugs to all the losers. Mad Buddha abuser. But they don't know about the stress-filled day. Baby on the way, mad bills to pay. That's why you drink Tanqueray, so you can reminisce and wish you wasn't living so devilish. Shit, I remember I was just like you, smoking blunts with my crew, flipping over 62s, cause GED wasn't B.I.G. I got P.A.I.D. That's why my mom hate me. She was forced to kick me out.
Yeah, buddy.
Great job, man.
All right, I think everything fucking worked.
Yeah, it sounded great. No hitches.
All right, finish your fucking shake and get to work. Or wherever you're going. Where are you going?
Freeze.
It freeze now?
You froze for a second. That was so weird.
I'll take it. If it's after we're done, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, now you're choppy, and I guess that's the podcast god saying, cut it out. You're done, boys.
What are you doing today?
I'm gonna head. I just got to head over to work and use my Microsoft Word on my desktop there to complete a project.
So you didn't use any of the advice I gave you in terms of the MacBook? Cool.
No, I did.
Cool,
I actually
cool,
I did, but it's just I find it without a mouse. Like I just find the mouse pad a little more awkward when I'm trying to do like fine tune stuff, like crop things and whatnot. So
just get a fucking cheap ass mouse. I must have one somewhere.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Bluetooth mouse. Mice.
What are you gonna do?
Mouses is.
Mice. Cheap. I don't need multiple mice. I just need one, I guess. But anywho,
just plugs in USB.
All right, bro.
All right.
Peace out, homie. If I can get my stuff done soon, I'm gonna head to Kurt's later for dinner. I think your dad's going over.
Oh yeah.
You around?
I'm around, but I wasn't going.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
Nope. Nobody asked. Nobody invited me. I guess my dad's got no Carol.
Yeah, Carol's out for the weekend. Yeah, really good.
For the week, yeah, or 2 weeks or something. Anyway,
she's been kind of quiet
on social media.
Yeah,
she's up in Sturgeon, so I think that's probably what it was.
She's what? Sorry,
she's up in like Sturgeon Falls, so she probably doesn't have a lot of internet access, maybe or something.
Oh, is that where she's been?
Yeah, she's from up there, so she went up to her sister's place or something. I think.
But like the last couple weeks is what I like. Has she been up there the whole time or no?
She's been up there for at least a week or so, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
She's normally pretty. She normally contributes a lot.
She normally posts a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if contribute is the right word, but
a lot of hockey stuff.
She
a lot of hockey
posts stuff, and then somebody will say something, and she'll be like, "Whoa, whoa."
Yeah.
Come at me. I was like, fuck.
Frank Leclerc.
He didn't even say anything wrong.
I
like,
actually,
I'm out of here for whatever. I'm like, fuck. He's not trying to come at you.
I know. She asked me to DM her, so I messaged her. I just said, hey, everything okay? And she explained to me what happened. I said, don't take any of that stuff personally. People are just expressive, especially when it comes to this, Black Lives Matter and politics and stuff. It just people lose their minds, but don't take anything personally. And that was that.
Have you watched that?
Anywho,
watch Netflix Social Dilemma.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's enough where I'm like, if we weren't, using this kind of platform, like doing this kind of stuff, maybe I would.
You'd what?
You didn't see it. Get off. Well, make sure my kids don't get on anytime soon.
Yeah. Fair enough, man.
All right, go use your go bike or whatever to use your mouse.
I'll talk to you later, pal.
Okay. I'm gonna make sure Curtis probably got one. I'm gonna say, Curtis, make sure if Pep goes over, give him a fucking mouse so he can plug it into his MacBook.
It's all good, man. You guys are giving me more than enough. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you guys. I'll talk to you soon, but
all right, sounds good, pal.
Okay, man.
Bye.